Hello everyone and welcome back to the San Francisco 49er franchise. This is Husker Eurocat and we've successfully made it to the first off season with the 49ers. This season didn't see the Niners get into the playoffs, but let's be realistic here. It was much better than it could have been. We finished with a 9-7 record and second in the NFC West. In order to make it to the playoffs, the 49ers would have had to have a much better division record, and they may have beaten out the Giants for the 6th seed wild card position. But we need to get on with the offseason. Before we get to that, I was really nervous with two players that were traded for during the season, but were in the last year of their contracts. Getting them re-signed to new contracts just seemed like the thing to do. So the first of those players was Jimmy Garoppolo. He got injured in the game with the Bears and missed the end of the season, but voiced some displeasure with the 49er organization, and to show him that we're serious about making him an integral part of this team, he was signed to a 7-year deal worth just under $25 million. The other player that wasn't happy was cornerback Ross Cockrell. He also was offered a 7-year deal, but I had to spend another $9 million over Garoppolo to secure a long-term contract. Now, I probably shouldn't have gone for this long of a contract with him, but I think maybe 5 years would have been a better fit. But 7 years it was, and the 49ers now have 2 long-term contracts, and each player will be with the organization for a long time to come. Going into the offseason, we have a lot of cornerbacks on the roster, but there are a lot of them that are in their last year of their contracts, so securing Cockrell, I think, was a good thing. Now it's time for the yearly awards, where we find out who took home the hardware for playing at the top of the game during this season. The league MVP was not a Super Bowl quarterback. Cam Newton beat out both Russell Wilson and Tom Brady for that honor, as well as the Offensive Player of the Year. Now, the Defensive Player of the Year was Ryan Shazier of the Steelers. He hasn't been injured in this franchise and had an outstanding year. The Offensive Rookie of the Year was Deshaun Watson of the Texans, and defensively, it was Duke Riley of the Falcons via LSU. The best quarterback in the league is none other than Tom Brady of the Patriots, as well as a Pro Bowl quarterback for the AFC. The best running back was Thomas Rawls from the Super Bowl winning Seattle Seahawks. The best wide receiver in the league comes from the winners of the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. Golden Tate had some stiff competition from the Bengals' A.J. Green, but came out on top. The best offensive lineman beat out Justin Britt of the Seahawks, and that would be Trey Turner of the Panthers. The best defensive lineman was right end Trey Flowers from the Patriots, narrowly beating out the 6-10 Rams right end Aaron Donald. Just goes to show that you don't have to be on an elite team to come to being close to the best in the league. The best linebacker in the league is obvious. Ryan Shazier from the Steelers. Taking home the gold for Defensive Back of the Year was the Lions' strong safety Tavon Wilson. The bright spot of all these awards for the 49ers was that Robbie Gould took home the honor for the best place kicker in the league, and the Coach of the Year is from the Super Bowl winning Seattle Seahawks. Sneaky Pete Carroll takes home that trophy. Now it's time for who made it to the Pro Bowl and whether they were able to help their team win the game or not. Heading up the team for the AFC is the aforementioned Tom Brady. With him at the top of his career at 40 years of age, one has to really wonder whether or not it would be time for him to call it quits or not. If I remember, in an interview he said, "I'm playing great and feeling great, so I need to keep playing until I don't." It's hard to argue with that kind of logic, I guess. On the other end of the spectrum for the AFC, you have two rookies that played some outstanding football and made the Pro Bowl squad, and that's left tackle from Buffalo, Deion Dawkins, and right end Jordan Willis from the Bengals. I was somewhat curious as to why neither of these players made the Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then I remembered that the winner of that award was from the Falcons, an NFC team, and now that makes sense. Heading up the NFC team is Aaron Rodgers, another vet that by the end of his career could be rivaling the best in the league as well. At 34, he's not there, but one never knows what's in the mind of a superstar. He could retire tomorrow. Then comes the young guns for the NFC in Thomas Rawls and Zeke Elliott. Each of these players is at the beginning of their careers and have made a huge impact for their teams already. 3 players from the 49ers made the roster for the NFC, and among them was defensive tackle DeForest Buckner. With the rush defense being in 30th position, I was kind of surprised to see this. But with 30 tackles, 8 sacks, and a fumble both forced and recovered, I guess he played a little better than I thought. What was really surprising to me is that the winner of the best kicker in the league, Robbie Gould, didn't make it to the Pro Bowl. Now, where is the logic in that? It seems that Madden's AI makes another mistake. And this year's victors in the Pro Bowl are the boys from the AFC, winning with a last-minute drive that put them on top 24-17. Not too far off from the actual NFL, huh? Now we can dive into the off-season schedule, and first up are the results of the coaching staff. Kyle Shanahan gained 4 overall points this season, so something positive is happening in San Francisco, and let's hope that it continues to get better as the years go on. Going on to the players that are retiring, Tom Brady, although he had another outstanding season with the Pats, has decided after that crushing loss in the Super Bowl and 18 seasons in the NFL, all with the New England Patriots, I might add, to call it quits. 8 Super Bowl appearances with 5 wins and 13 times selected for the Pro Bowl is enough to make even the most talented quarterback green with envy. It's been a wonderful ride, and thanks for the memories, Tom. The tough little dude out of Kansas State, Darren Sproles, after 13 seasons of pounding the rock, has decided to hang up the cleats. And remember, George Fant from the Seahawks, after only 2 seasons in the NFL, had a career-ending back injury. It's sad to see such rising talent fall like that, but as we all know, this is a rough sport, and you have to realize things like this are gonna happen. At 40 years of age and 16 seasons in the NFL, outside linebacker James Harrison says goodbye. With 2 Super Bowl wins, 5 Pro Bowls, and the Defensive Player of the Year in 2008, he leaves a big hole for the Steelers to fill. To cap it off, the old man of the NFL, Adam Vinatieri, at 46 years of age, and 22 seasons in a football uniform has booted his last ball for the NFL. Wow, he's been in the league as long as some of the rookies coming into the league have been alive. And if you think about it, he's spent about half his life playing the sport that he loves at the pro level. What a career. Now moving on, it's time to see what players are coming back to the 49ers, who's testing free agency, and who it is that the Niners just don't want to re-sign to new contracts. First is undrafted rookie Zach Thomas. He played well as a backup and even won a game coming off the bench, so I think that I'll re-sign him. I think he has enough potential to make him an offer. On to the halfbacks and Tayshaun Jones. He came on strong in the last few games, and I want to see if he can continue this path so he gets a contract. Niall Davis and Raheem Mostert, I think I can find others that might fit the path that I want to take this team in, so no extension for them. For the wide receivers, we find Kenny Bell. He showed some promise, and I like that he's bigger and faster than some of the other receivers. I just want to see if he gets a nice boost out of the off-season, so I'll give him a one-year deal. Same deal with Lester Jordan, but I think he shows a lot more promise. If he doesn't make the roster, he'll most likely be a part of the practice squad at least. Now for the tight ends. I tried to offer Logan Paulson a contract to come back for next season, but it doesn't matter at this point. He doesn't want to come back no matter how much I offer him. That's sad because he does a wonderful job of catching the tough pass, but the show must go on. Right guard, Andrew Tiller. Well, I think he'll make a good backup, so I'll extend him an offer to stay. Nazarius Peterson is another young player that, at worst, he would make a good practice squad player, so he'll be offered a contract as well. Aaron Lynch at 92 overall needs to stay right here in San Francisco. Oh no, he doesn't want to stay with us? Oh, this is a huge disappointment. Arrgh. I was hoping that he'd stay after having such a wonderful season. And Tank Carradine on the other side of the line doesn't want to stay with the 49ers either. What is happening to my defensive line? It's falling apart. I think I just want to cry. Maybe I'll have more success with the linebackers. First, there's Peter Tamapino at left outside linebacker that could turn into a solid backup after spending a year on the practice squad. At worst, he could spend a little more time there, so I'll give him a contract. I think C.O. Moore is making a good backup for Navarro Bowman, so he'll be offered a contract to remain a 49er. Gerald Hodges Jr. Now, he's a solid backup for our young star Reuben Foster, and he doesn't want to stay with the 49ers. Oh, that is disappointing as well. That means that Ray, you're the next man up and will be asked to stay. I think he has the hope of surviving preseason at least. Maybe more time on the practice squad, I just don't know. But for now, he gets a contract. Moving on to the cornerbacks, Corey White has been a capable backup and had made some good plays in nickel and dime formations, so he gets a contract renewal. And the young kid, Adrian Colbert, as well, just because I think he can develop into a little more and could become another capable backup. I wish that he was a little faster, but I like his size at the cornerback position. And finally, at strong safety, we have Eric Reed. And now that we have developed him for a year and he doesn't have the falling off the rails role anymore, he decides that he doesn't want to stay with the 49ers. Well, be that way then, huh? I think Dookie Hanacho can fill in. That's if we don't get someone better in free agency. So, Jaquiski Tart, you have earned a contract, and if you perform good enough in preseason, well, you just may get a roster position out of this. And there you have your players that are not being signed. Whether I didn't want them on the squad or they just wanted to play for someone else, they're not going to be with us anymore. Now it comes time to see who we can pick up in free agency. Since there is a big hole at the halfback position, I found Jerick McKinnon. A speedy back and good carrying ability make him an excellent choice, so I offer him a contract to come to San Francisco. At the tight end slot, I found Nick O'Leary. A 3-year vet, still fairly young, and with a 91 overall rating seems more than a good replacement for Logan Paulson. He may even be the starter come day one of the regular season. Who knows? At the ball snapper position, Rodney Hudson from across the bay in Oakland is available, and with the hole at center, huge hole I might add, he may be the ticket, so I offer him a contract. He's good enough even though he's 29 years old already. And there we have our first signee of the free agency. Jerick McKinnon has decided to accept my offer. I was starting to get a little concerned because my first 3 contracts were mildly interested in coming to San Francisco, and it makes me feel a little better seeing that at least one of my choices has agreed to a contract. At right tackle, there's Brian Bulaga sitting on top of the heap, and I just can't say no to a player of his caliber. Again, a little on the tenderized side of things, but that may be what I have to do, and then contract someone that could really be developed in the next 2 to 3 seasons. So I offer him a contract. At left end, since Aaron Lynch doesn't want to come back and looks as if Nick Williams may be the next choice, so I offer him a contract. Next comes a replacement for Tank Carradine. It seems that Charles Tapper, the 3rd-year man out of Oklahoma, is available. He has an outstanding overall rating, but again, here is another player that doesn't seem too interested in signing with us, but I offer him a contract anyway. Moving on to defensive tackle, we find Timmy Jernigan. At 26, he still has some growing to do, but is still an outstanding catch if I can snatch him, and I offer him a contract as well. At cornerback, we find Prince Amukamara. Call me a softy, but I have a spot for Nebraska boys if they're good enough. And at 29, he should be a good candidate to show some of the younger guys the ropes in the NFL. Not the most prolific pass catcher at defensive back, but I like his awareness, and that should go a long way to seeing what's coming on the field. Now, we come to a host of players that accept my contracts, and this is reassuring because the lack of interest. I didn't think I would be getting any of them. Hudson, Bulaga, Tapper, Jernigan, and Amukamara all sign with the 49ers. Haha, yes. Next, Bradley Pinion just doesn't seem to be getting the job done at punter, and I find Marquette King in the free agent pool. He is seasoned, but then again, he's a punter, and could last for a lot of years yet, so I offer him a contract. Then I get notified that Nick O'Leary, Marquette King, and Nick Williams signed their contracts. This is turning into a great free agency period for us. No one has refused the contract offered yet, and I have to say that's a little unusual to not have anyone say they want to keep their options open at this point. Only a third of the free agent period gone, and I've had a bunch of takers already. Now let's take a look at some of our backup needs. At center is Mike Pouncey. I think he would be an outstanding backup for Charles Tapper, so a contract is offered to him and he accepts the 2-year contract that was offered. And that brings an end to the first free agency period, and now it's time for the NFL draft. This season, I'm a little nervous and excited too to finally try Madden Amp for my draft, so let's get started. I know that I want to address left tackle and cornerback in the draft, but I seem to be open for my other picks. After scouting players, I noticed that at left tackle, we have Johnny Emmanuel as a top 5 pick. But I also know that I don't pick until the 19th overall spot. That's a long time to wait, and I'm just guessing that he won't be on the table that far down the picking order. So either I have to wait for the next best or quickly make a trade. With the first pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select quarterback Luke Morris. I tried to make a trade with the Browns, but I don't get any takers until finally the Cowboys are willing to trade down. But guess what? Emmanuel is already gone, and so is cornerback Mike Lamont. At that point, I end up going with defensive tackle Tom McGrath, because the next left tackle or cornerback is a second and third round prospect. I then traded with the Jags for the 115th and 147th picks and a first round next year. Probably not the best trade in the world, but it does give me another first round pick. With that pick, I take right guard Chuck Hodges. I figure I need to develop the run game a little more, and a nice place to start is at the guard position. I then have the 51st pick and finally select a real need for the team in cornerback with Christopher Edwards. I just hope that with his speed he pans out, since the Browns had passed on him just a few picks earlier. I then had to wait until the 6th round to select again. That is a long time. And with pick 179, I select strong safety Josh Perry. It just doesn't look like I'm going to get the left tackle spot filled out this draft. That is disappointing. And with my last pick, I choose another guard on the right side, Carl Rucker. Time to see what kind of rookie class that makes for me. I just don't have a real good feeling. I just wish that I could have traded up for Johnny Emmanuel, and I would feel a whole lot better. The best in the class was, in fact, the first picked, and that was the defensive tackle out of Oklahoma, Tom McGrath. It looks like the first 2 or 3 picks will be something to work with, but beyond that, it's a stretch. I was hoping to snag one of those late round gems, but I don't guess that happened with this class. Now on to the second free agent period, and we need to find a decent backup for Joe Staley at left tackle. What I find first is a defensive tackle in the third-year man out of Florida State, Niles Lawrence Stample. At 86 overall and not bad awareness rating of 74, for only being in this league for 2 seasons. That is a fine. And he agrees with the contract pretty fast. I then find Alfred Morris not going to win any speed records, but for a backup, he carries the ball well, and I think he may be a good fit. From here on out, I start filling in the roster with potential backups and practice squad players, unless, of course, I find a gem in preseason and he earns a spot on the regular season squad. And finally, I offer a contract to a backup for Joe Staley at left tackle. Gerald Johnson may get beat out by an undrafted rookie, but for now, he may be the ticket. That doesn't exactly give me a warm fuzzy about that position, though. I do find cornerback Philip Gaines, and although he only comes in at a 77 overall rating, he does have good speed, so I'm thinking maybe a return man here, possibly. Another good prospect as far as getting on the regular squad is left outside linebacker Nicholas Grigsby. He may rival Pita Tamopinu for that position as well. Now just more fill-in players selected at the defensive end positions, and then there's Isaiah Battle. I must have had a senior moment here. I don't know what happened, because I could get an undrafted rookie as good as him. Watch, he'll be the surprise player of the preseason. Overall, not a bad bunch of free agents to add to my 90-man roster. Next, I noticed a situation that begged for my attention. It seemed that Solomon Thomas refused to play another down for the 49ers, and he wanted to be traded. He was showing as inactive in Madden. He had a contract, and he wasn't a holdout, so I could only assume that he wanted to be gone. So on the trading block he went, and I got my first and second round picks back for next year by trading him to the Atlanta Falcons. You know, I would feel a whole lot worse about giving him up if I hadn't snagged 25-year-old Charles Tapper up in free agency. The show must go on, right? Hey, yeah. The last thing I do before we're ready for preseason 2018 is sign some undrafted free agents to the roster. And we started with quarterback Jaquan Burnett at 69 overall and 3 years younger. We'll see if he beats Zach Thomas out for his spot. I found a fast halfback in Ted Scott, and the only other undrafted that I'm kind of stoked about is finding cornerback Eric Huey. I don't know if he's going to make it as a corner because he's a little undersized, but his returning rating is off the chart good, so that may be the spot for him. There's 15 undrafted free agents altogether for this roster, and I'm looking forward to seeing if any of them can make the squad, or at least the practice squad spot. So here is your 2018 preseason roster. Now, Hoyer won the last 3 games of the season and should make a wonderful backup, but we certainly don't want to have to go any deeper than that. The other 2 quarterbacks definitely need some development time. I'm really hoping that this team comes together this preseason because morale is an issue right now. We have a couple of team distractions in Calvin Pryor and Duke Iheanacho because of it, and if they can play a good preseason, it may go a long way in boosting that a bit. I do feel that with the losses on defense especially, I'm a little concerned that they may not be up to last season's standards, out of the gate anyway. There are a lot of new players in the system, and time will tell if they play up to the bar of last season's defense, because they were a good one. It's just the offense that had some issues. Addressing the O-line issues in this offseason makes me feel a little better in that regard. Maybe the running game will be a bit better this season with stronger and a more experienced line up front. We'll be taking this roster into this preseason schedule that includes the team that traded for Solomon Thomas, the Atlanta Falcons. I think it'll be really interesting to see how much playing time that he gets with this new team, since he has gone from the starter at left end to the third string. And he was hoping for more playing time. First up, we meet the Washington Redskins in Levi Stadium. Thanks for tuning in to our coverage of the San Francisco 49er franchise off-season on the Football Freak Sports Network. Please keep in mind that if you enjoyed this video, leave a like so that others can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to be notified when there is a new one, simply subscribe by clicking on my icon at the end of the video. I'm really excited to get this season started, so until I see you for the first preseason game against the Redskins, this is Husker Eurocat saying so long for now, and have a good day, everyone.